Alright gamers, my name is Envoyans, and today we're going to delve into what lies below the surface of Counter-Strike, one of the biggest games out there. We all know what Counter-Strike is, and we all know it as the multiplayer superpower it is, currently the most popular game on Steam with almost 1 million players daily. So with it being arguably the most popular multiplayer FPS game in the world, who would care, even if there was a single-player option? The same question was probably asked in the heyday of Counter-Strike 1.6 in the early 2000s. But unlike today, a single-player option is what we received back then. Now it's forgotten about and written off as a piece of its history without much else to say. Here we are over 20 years later, and I strive to blow the dust off this relic they call Counter-Strike Condition Zero deleted scenes. Though it's mostly lost to time, the 18 campaign missions that sit waiting for you still hold up very well and would certainly rival other games of its time. The presence of weapons and game concept we are already akin to are there, giving you a good sense of familiarity as you explore the new experience within. With that, new experiences with equipment items like the blowtorch, fiber optic camera, a radio, remote-controlled bombs, and a camera add to the experience. As it stands, it's never too late to jump in, so that's what we're going to do here today. Do be advised though, spoilers are ahead as I'm going through all of the missions, so please don't let me ruin the fun. Now, it's time to jump into Counter-Strike Condition Zero. The first mission places us in the eyes of a US Navy SEAL in northern Africa, where his helicopter is shot down by terrorists. Assuming no survivors, we're left on our own until we fight our way through the war-torn villages and rescue a Delta Force sniper who was captured by the terrorist force. Splitting up once he sees a sniper tower, you head to the extraction point, eventually getting intel that our teammate was captured yet again, forcing you to go back to rescue him again. When you do, it's time to head back to the extraction point and get out of there together, for which you obviously do. The second mission brings us to the Basilan Islands in the Philippines, where German forces are attempting to rescue captured German citizens. Scoping out the area with the fiber optic camera, you locate the civilians, and the offensive begins. Along the way, you have to avoid many traps like explosive barrels and tripwires, all the while ensuring you yourself aren't caught and killed while keeping the hostages out of danger. The difficulty comes near the end while you fight to the docks for extraction, where snipers and rocket launchers stand in your way, both with the obvious danger, the rockets especially. Once clear, you win and jump on the boat with your crewmates and the hostages. Moving on. The third mission takes us to northern Russia, where communication is lost in a decommissioned missile facility, feared to be commandeered by rebels. We find this to be true, then seeing that two different rebel forces are infighting. All the while, you're tasked with taking them both down. During some fighting, destruction in the facility leads to an unstoppable launch sequence for the missile, meaning time is of the essence. The solution ends up being to destroy the fuel lines to the missile, evading the launch. It's not over though, as on the way out of the facility, a rebel helicopter begins to follow your team's truck, forcing you to shoot it down in an intense and dangerous firefight. Staying in the Baltic region brings us to Latvia for Mission 4, where a similar mission goes on, giving us our first stealth mission of the game. Your counter-terrorist force picks up on rumors of a nuke being stolen by a terrorist force with an obvious intention of using it. Once you locate the nuke after successfully sneaking past a ton of rebel guards, you must photograph the nuke, which prompts your team to begin the attack. Fighting through the narrow streets and corridors around the warehouse leads us to a church, where the rebel leader is destined to arm and detonate the nuke, certainly killing everyone and causing sure destruction. By yourself, you must kill the terrorist leader, and fast, as there is a defusal aspect akin to the regular DE game mode Counter-Strike is famous for. You really do have to work fast though, as you do not have a defusal kit, and it takes a full 10 seconds to defuse. If you do it all in time, you're a hero. And now our fifth mission sends us to Colombia for another hostage rescue by the US Navy SEALs. as the mission takes place within a drug lab compound in the rainforest. In the interest of stopping illegal production, you are tasked with destroying various equipment when coming across it, all the while finding hostages and rescuing them. I found this mission very straightforward and simple. There isn't much else to say beside it's a good mission through and through. Reaching the halfway point puts us in Italy, where German and French counter-terrorist outfits intend on killing a terrorist leader in a motorcade passing through a town outside of Venice. Your task was shooting a rocket at a vehicle, while a different teammate does the same on a different one, both of which were not carrying the leader in question, all leading to your cover being blown. A chase then results, causing the deaths of many of your squad mates. Left alone, battling to where the terrorist leader is, referred to in the mission as the VIP, you find that he's locked himself in a room with bulletproof glass guarding him as he watches you. Conveniently though, there's a broken part of the glass pane just big enough to slip an HE grenade through, for which you do, killing him, and winning the mission. It's a little less dignified than other missions, but the job's done, right? Heading back to the Russian counter-terrorism suit, we find ourselves hiding aboard a hijacked, nuclear-powered icebreaker ship headed toward Norway. You are then tasked, by yourself mind you, to dispose of the terrorist and change the course of the ship to avoid the imminent nuclear explosion. Doing so is great, but it's not over yet, as abruptly you're thrown into a one-man battle against an enemy chopper equipped with Gatling guns and rockets. Your best bet is to shoot at it with the AWP you find on the top deck, but it's still not an easy job as the chopper's health is high, and unfortunately the technical limitations of the time creates a very low draw distance and causes difficulty with finding it and letting you accurately aim from far away. Patience and luck is really the name of the game here, but shooting it down leads to your victory. Next, we head back to South America, this time in Argentina, where German forces are to locate a downed chopper in hopes of finding survivors, all of which turn out to have been taken hostage. Battling through the terrorist-occupied mines nearby, you traverse through quite a puzzling labyrinth of rooms. At one point, when unlocking a cell via a computer, a trap is initiated, causing you to pass out and be taken prisoner yourself. Being so smart and resourceful, you find a knife, anger the guard, and stab him to death, leading to your escape. Lastly, after acquiring your freedom, outside, more hostages are located and more terrorists are dispatched, leading to the victory for you and your team. Our next mission takes us to Tokyo, Japan, one of many missions in Japan, where a politician is to be protected by you and your team, only for the Yakuza to make an assassination attempt. Once he is safe, you take off to eliminate the Yakuza leader in charge of the botched plan. When you locate him, you see that he's taken a young girl hostage, and you must have precise aim to headshot him without harming the hostage. Once done, if you're a weeaboo, you'll love the ending, which features a very stereotypical Japanese schoolgirl admiring you through a fence. If that's you, pause the video, change your pants, then come back. I'll wait. Nearing the end now, we find ourselves at a crack house in Modesto, California, arranging a sting operation against a kingpin named Moses Sepulveda. Once the plan is initiated, Sepulveda runs, forcing you to fight through his warehouses and production facilities until you reach his office, which almost has like a Scarface appearance, which I found pretty cool. He's really not that hard to eliminate using the M249, so if you can make quick work of it while also destroying his office for fun, that's the way to go. The penultimate mission of the storyline takes us to the fictional country of Bashistan, likely a half portmanteau for Afghanistan or Pakistan if I were to guess. Here, you have to rescue hostages that were working in a US embassy there. You fight through, eventually finding the hostages and leading them to an open floor of a destroyed building where they await evacuation on a chopper. Because of the terrorist forces, the chopper can't land or hover, forcing you to fight them off before the rescue. And a random comment on this is that there's gotta be a reason, and here you are, that there's disclaimers on certain pieces of media about similarities being coincidental, as unfortunately an attack on a US embassy did actually happen in the Middle East like 8 years after this came out. That's neither here nor there, but it's just a really eerie coincidence. And now moving on to the last mission in the linear sequence, it's a mission called Rise Hard, which involves the British SAS making an attempt to stop a nuclear attack in Belfast, Ireland. Entry is extremely difficult as the terror squad is well coordinated, shooting at you with mounted guns and rockets. Once you do make your way in, it's a fight through a giant skyscraper in cramped offices, elevator shafts, and rooftops. Once at the top of the tower, you walk into a room, and you get knocked out, later awoken by the leader of the terrorists, who orders you to a knife fight. He then pussies out, takes off running, and now forces you to disarm his bombs and the nuke itself. The leader's hubris proves wrongful, as when he threatens to remote detonate the nuke despite your defusal, you ensure his demise by planting an RC bomb on a pillar holding up the area of the building he's standing on, making him plummet from the top of the skyscraper to his death. And with that, the original campaign of 12 missions is finished, but more do remain. Now, the first in the extra missions is Fastline, where you have to take down a terror organization bent on destroying the subway system in Tokyo, as you witness a hostile takeover and a bombing, but survive. You then peruse the station, taking down terrorists along the way, defusing bombs, and eventually running into their leader, who you then have to kill and rescue hostages from. This map is also seen in the base game's Tour of Duty mode in a smaller fashion. Miami Heat, not to be confused with the basketball team, of course, is a fan-favorite mission, as it is a very drawn-out stealth mission that requires very precise movement, learning of patterns, and usage of the fiber optic camera to ensure safety. A standoff arises at a bank in Miami, Florida, for which you enter through a sewer, rescue some hostages, and provide intel to the team to ensure a safe entrance and a disposal of the robbers. Once hostages are safe and the intel is relayed, a short fight occurs, killing the robbers and ending the standoff. And if you were expecting a Florida man joke here, that's just not in the cards. I mean, it's just a simple tale of a bank robbery. I don't know. Up next is Pipe Dream, a mission that sends us to Turkmenistan, where a pump station for an oil pipeline is taken over and the workers are taken hostage. It's really just a standard search and rescue mission, blasting through corridors, saving hostages, waiting for evacuation, and that's really all. Sandstorm is another mission involving stopping a suspected nuclear attack in the hilariously named city of Baghdad Attack. Like, they weren't even subtle with making a fake name for this one. This one has the same premise as a lot of them. You blast through, eventually hit a big fight with rocket launchers and mounted guns, and it's actually kind of hard to stay upright with your health. It's just a lot going on. There's a lot of health around, at least, but really all you gotta do, eliminate the opposition, and that presents you with the win and the possession of the Scud launcher that was the whole subject of the mission. The last two missions both take place in Japan, and are some of my favorites. The first is called Run, where you take control of a sniper who just eliminated a Yakuza gang leader and now have to run before the Yakuza finds and kills you in retaliation. Running along the rooftops and narrow streets of Tokyo along the way, having to literally scope out enemies at any given moment, close or far away, all the while radio chatter keeps you anxious as they claim there's a limited time before the rescue vehicle you're looking for needs to leave the area, makes for a good adrenaline-pumping mission in my opinion. There's also just not enough sniper rifle usage in this game, so it's nice to see, though I would complain about headshot accuracy issues, but that's just how it is. The last mission to mention is Truth in Chaos, taking place at a cultist compound in Osaka, Japan. The cult is preparing to commit biological warfare by releasing a nerve gas in populated areas that you are tasked with locating, while also rescuing hostages of the cult who are just captured defectors. The mission is complete upon finding all of the containers of nerve gas and saving the hostages. If you're still with me, that was a summary of all the missions in the game. They're all great in their own way and worth a try. Even if it didn't have the Counter-Strike tag before its name, it would be a very solid game, and I applaud those from Ritual Entertainment that worked on it. This game is definitely a favorite of mine that I'm glad I didn't glance over in my Steam library for too long. If you've got it, give it a shot. It holds up pretty well with games of the era, obviously has the base of 1.6 working for it, making it pretty solid all around. It's able to be upscaled for modern systems too, so if graphics and a bad aspect ratio are deal breakers for you, don't let them be. Regardless of difficulty setting, there's challenging elements for strategic play in most instances, so if you're into that, bring it on. The last thing to present is the base game's single-player mode, which is the aforementioned Tour of Duty game mode. This is interesting, but not as engaging in my opinion, as you are tasked as a commander of a counter-terrorist team fighting through existing maps, new and old, completing given tasks along the way. These play just as they would online, but you select your team based on skill points earned, making it so as you progress, your team can become better suited. Each hired teammate is a bot with different skill levels based on their skill with weapons, how cooperative they are with you, and how brave they are, adding some RP elements to the game. Each teammate has a predetermined weapon of choice for them, and their attributes affect gameplay, as is obvious. Skill level determines their accuracy and awareness. Cooperation determines their willingness to follow orders you can input using the Z, X, and C voice menus, which I think is pretty cool, as you can actually command your teammates around using voice commands, and they will verbally respond to you in chat. And of course, lastly, bravery determines their willingness to do things like defuse a bomb quickly or rescue hostages during dangerous scenarios. With that said, there is an annoying element that if you are alive, the team will wait for you to do a bomb defusal, no matter how close you are to it. They only do the dirty work if you are dead.
Bomb site secure. Ready for you to defuse the bomb. It's all up to you, sir.
Regardless, it's pretty fun to create a team and complete objectives while staying true to the core of Counter-Strike with defusal and hostage rescue missions. But it does get repetitive as the progression is the exact same maps, just on different difficulties. Completing all 6 tours of 3 maps each rewards you with a medal, and the game is completed, so to speak, by collecting all 4 medals by beating the tours on easy, medium, hard, and expert difficulties. All in all, I would say there is definitely fun to be had with the only single-player experience in the Counter-Strike franchise we'll likely ever receive, and if you have a chance, you ought to play it. The storylines of deleted scenes are fleshed out. It takes what I'd average between 12 to 15 minutes to finish each mission, making it a somewhat speedy pick-up-and-play game, and it being non-connected gives you frequent changes in pace. The content recording for this took me a little over 6 hours to do, but take that with a grain of salt as I have played through it what I think to be 3 or 4 times. So with a first-time experience being thorough and taking it all in, it would certainly be longer than that. At the end of the day, I believe this game is a true testament and a good farewell to the Gold Source engine that brought us 1.6, Team Fortress Classic, and of course Half-Life and its expansions. It might be over 20 years old now, but lest it be forgotten, a solid game nonetheless. That's all I've got for today. I hope this was enlightening to put the game on a pedestal, whether you know about it or not, and a good synopsis of the game start to finish, as I strive to do. This has been my exploration on Counter-Strike Condition Zero and the Deleted Scenes campaign. My name is Advoyans, thank you for watching, and take care.